Because I was completely out of money for food, I somehow had the guts to corner Tyler Kingson, the heir to one of the most powerful families in New York City. I pinned him in the corner of a shabby motel room and solemnly declared, "I need $500. If you don't have it, I'll do something you won't like." At first, his expression was tense, as if calculating an escape route. But the moment he heard the amount I was asking for, he suddenly burst out laughing. "500? Who do you think I am to ask for so little? Why don't you just seduce me instead?" Unfortunately for him, after rummaging through his pockets, he only came up with $50. I grabbed the cash and bolted. I never imagined that months later, the tables would turn. In the vast underground basement beneath his mansion, I was the one tied up. Tyler Kingson stood before me, his eyes blazing with a mix of vengeance and provocation. He set down stacks of cash neatly on the floor, piling them up like a mountain. "Miss Haley Moore, here's $5 million. Today, I don't want you running away. I want you to come and take me." My stomach growled loudly in the dim motel room, protesting fiercely. I hadn't had a proper meal in 2 days. If it weren't for the dizziness brought on by hunger, I wouldn't have stooped so low as to kidnap a wealthy heir like Tyler Kingson. Who could have guessed he was such a weirdo? Given a choice between losing money or his virtue, he picked the latter. Rich people really are stingy. I just wanted enough for a meal. Did he really have to volunteer like that? Hearing my stomach rumble, he cleared his throat, looking slightly embarrassed. "You hungry?" I nodded. So hungry my vision's going blurry. He wriggled, trying to break free from the rope binding him, but failed. Finally, as if giving up, he straightened his back like a man ready to make the ultimate sacrifice. "All right then. Go ahead." "What?" I blinked. "Go ahead, with what? You mean get the money from your pocket?" I was still confused when he gently prompted, "Don't know how?" "I'll show you, but be gentle, okay?" His ears flushed red. "Oh, for heaven's sake, it's just taking money." Did he need to make such a complicated face? I squatted down and slipped my hand into his pants pocket, searching. He was the spoiled prince of the New York elite, surely he carried cash. But to my surprise, his whole body tensed, and his face flushed deep crimson. Not there. A little lower. So I reached deeper. Still no money, only brushing against something hard and warm. I ignored it for now and kept searching. I was too hungry to think of anything but braised pork knuckles with eggs. Maybe my hand was a little rough, because he let out a low groan, his body slumping against my shoulder. A faint, sweet scent of liquor mixed with almond drifted into my nose. Was this guy wearing cologne that smelled like food? I swallowed hard. Damn it, now I was even hungrier. I sped up my search, just wanting to grab the cash and get out. But he kept going limp, leaning into me like a boneless rag doll. Exhausted and embarrassed, I snapped and gave him a light slap. "What the hell are you squirming for?" He groaned like he was about to faint. "Hurry up, stop torturing me." I sighed and kept feeling around. Finally, deep inside the pocket, my fingers brushed the prize, a crumpled $50 bill. A lifesaver. It wasn't the $500 I'd planned on, but it was enough to keep me alive for another month. I didn't even bother looking at the bright, flushed face of Tyler Kingson anymore. The moment I got the money, I turned and bolted. When I stood up, his body, no longer supported, collapsed onto the floor with a loud thud. I didn't glance back, so I never saw the strange mix of fury and something else burning in his eyes. I used the cash right away to buy a box of braised pork knuckles, an extravagant meal I'd only dared to have on special occasions before. Eating it, I cried like a child. Just 2 weeks ago, I'd still been the cherished daughter of a well-off family in Chicago. Then the company went bankrupt, my parents took their own lives over debt, and all our assets were seized. Overnight, I went from a pampered heiress to someone with nothing. No home, no place to go. I carried my parents' memorial photos and moved into a shabby, shared apartment with strangers. I picked up a part-time job to scrape by. A few free meal vouchers from a convenience store kept me alive for several days. But one morning, when I showed up, the store was shut down, the sign gone. I texted the owner, only to get a curt reply. Business went under. Closing for good. And my paycheck? I asked. You weren't past the probation period, nothing to pay. The next message I got was, this number is no longer in service. Blocked. I didn't have a dime left, and no one I could turn to. That's when I spotted Tyler Kingson in a plain gray hoodie, leaning casually against the entrance of an upscale restaurant. Dazed. The man I'd only seen a handful of times at lavish galas, always arrogant, always dazzling, was now standing there alone, swaying slightly like someone harmless. I stared at him, and a thought flashed through my mind. If I took one reckless gamble, could I turn my life around? So I acted. After eating, my head felt clearer. Then it hit me, Tyler Kingson was still tied up back in that room. I jumped up, bought a cup of milk tea, and headed back, planning to apologize properly. But when I opened the door, the room was empty. The rope lay on the floor. He was gone. It felt like plunging into an ice pit. If he called the police, my life was over. I stuck the straw into my cup of milk tea and took a long gulp. My hands were trembling like crazy, my mouth dry, my heart pounding out of control. For the first time in my life, I just prayed he'd be merciful. And then, from pure exhaustion and fear, I passed out. The days that followed, I lived in constant dread, like a mouse sensing the shadow of a cat. Luckily, Tyler Kingson never called the cops. I eventually found a new job at a golf club. The title sounded fancy, but in reality, I was just picking up balls and serving players. It was just enough to cover my tuition, and if I was lucky enough to get a good tip from a customer, I could survive decently. On my first day, I changed into my uniform and stood with my head bowed, waiting for an important regular the manager had said was extremely VIP. When that person walked in, I nearly fainted. It was him, Tyler Kingson. And walking beside him was Chloe Young, heiress of the Young family, longtime business rivals of my family. She'd once been my so-called friend, but now she was clinging to Tyler's arm, smiling radiantly. My heart tightened. I quickly lowered my head further, avoiding their eyes. Thankfully, he didn't seem to recognize me as the girl who had once tied him up in a dingy apartment. Chloe, as if casually, laughed and said, I heard the Moore family went bankrupt. Haley Moore, wonder where she's drifting around these days. Someone said she's working part-time at a convenience store or something. Dirt poor. I kept my face blank, my eyes fixed on my dusty shoes. Tyler said nothing, only adjusted his gloves indifferently before resuming his swing. The Youngs and the Moores had always been like oil and water. Now that my family had fallen, of course she was delighted. I didn't dare look at them, just kept my head down and worked. The entire round of golf felt like sitting on pins and needles. But strangely, Tyler Kingson was off his game. 3 whole hours, and he didn't sink a single shot. Someone teased him, hey, what's wrong, Prince Kingson? Normally you get it in one stroke. Today you look out of it. Another chimed in, yeah, seeing the Young family's beauty must have rattled you, can't even hold your club straight anymore. I risked a glance at Tyler, only to lock eyes with his deep, unreadable gaze. Panicked, I dropped my head and busied myself. He chuckled softly. Yeah. I can't hold my club steady today. But it's not necessarily because I'm smitten, maybe I'm distracted. A chill ran down my spine. Could he have recognized me after all? No way, when he first saw me, he hadn't reacted at all. I glanced over at Chloe, still laughing and chatting with her friends. Maybe the prince was just annoyed that the beauty was ignoring him. Everyone backed off from teasing and went back to the game. Finally, the match ended. I helped Chloe gather her golf clubs. While I was checking the set, she suddenly said one was missing. And of course, it had to be the limited edition one worth several $100,000. There was no way I could afford to pay for it. No matter how I tried to explain, Chloe Young refused to let it go and even called the manager over. She was a VIP here, and the moment the manager saw that I'd upset her, he stormed over, shouting at me. "Are you stupid? Do you have any idea how much that club costs? Even if we sold you, it wouldn't be enough to cover it." Then, in the next breath, his tone flipped as he turned to fawn over her. "Miss Young, she's new here, doesn't know any better. How about I just fire her? Would that be acceptable to you?" Panic surged through me. I'd worked so hard to get this job, one that actually paid decently. I really needed it. I quickly apologized, insisting I hadn't taken the club. But all of Chloe's friends immediately stepped in to back up her story. No one believed me. Tears welled up in my eyes. Chloe's expression suddenly shifted. She leaned in close, whispering into my ear, "Haley Moore, I never thought I'd see you like this." I froze. So she had recognized me from the start. She'd pretended not to know me, just so she could watch me be humiliated. She had deliberately brought up my past in front of everyone. And now, with no way out, she was accusing me of stealing an expensive, limited edition club. She knew full well I could never pay for it. But I had no way to fight back. I could only grit my teeth, swallow my pride, and keep apologizing over and over. Her friends joined in, mocking me. "The daughter of a debtor, of course she has no morals," one sneered. I was being slandered, ridiculed, and there was nothing I could do. Tyler Kingson stood beside Chloe, his face expressionless, as cold as if he were a bystander. Did he think I had actually stolen Chloe's club? A wave of helpless grief crashed over me, and tears kept spilling down my cheeks. If my parents were still alive, would things be different? What was I supposed to do now? Life had already backed me into a corner. If I lost this job, I might actually starve. How about you kneel and apologize to me? Chloe's arrogant voice cut through the air. Just kneel 3 times, and I'll let this go. The manager kept signaling at me with his eyes. Haley, just do what Miss Young says. Offending a VIP like her is trouble neither of us can handle. Fine. What other choice did I have? I shut my eyes in despair. If kneeling was the only way to keep my job, then I'd kneel. I bent my knees, ready to drop to the ground. When a strong hand suddenly gripped my arm, stopping me. A familiar sweet scent, like coconut water mixed with almond, drifted toward me. If I wasn't mistaken, we were still in the modern day, weren't we? That whole era of making people kneel over every little thing. Shouldn't it end already? My heart trembled. That voice was far too familiar. I turned my head and found myself staring into those deep, magnetic eyes. It was Tyler Kingson. She's the one who lost my golf club. Why are you defending her? Chloe Young's voice was soft now, nothing like the sharp, vicious tone she'd used on me moments earlier. She batted her lashes, clinging to him like a fragile damsel. It's just a golf club, he said. Is it really worth making such a big scene? So. Tyler Kingson was soothing Chloe. In front of me, he was cold and distant like an iceberg, but with her, he couldn't stand to let her feel even slightly wronged. The people around us began teasing when they noticed Tyler still holding my arm. My mind went blank, I didn't know what to do. I quickly pulled my hand away. But that club is worth tens of thousands of dollars, Chloe pressed, still unwilling to drop it even with Tyler speaking up for me. But her tone had softened, now sugar-sweet instead of cutting. Tens of thousands is nothing, she purred. Remember when the Marshall family sent over those limited edition handbags shaped like miniature houses? You told me to take whichever I liked. Oh my God, Tyler, wasn't that the one that got auctioned for over $2 million? Wearing that bag is like carrying a whole apartment on your shoulder. Her friends gasped and gushed in unison. No wonder he's the prince of New York high society, so generous with his gifts. Chloe beamed, proud as a peacock with its feathers spread. Since Tyler's asked, I'll let you off this time. Get lost. The manager, seeing the matter resolved, quickly dragged me away, showering Chloe with thanks while muttering curses at me under his breath. "You've only been here a few days and you're already causing big trouble. If you pull something like this again, don't bother coming back. Do you even know who those people are, Haley Moore? You've got some nerve, picking a fight with the most powerful crowd in the city." I could only bow my head like a scolded child. Still, at least I kept my job. And now I finally understood why, that day I demanded $500 from Tyler Kingson, he'd worn that strange expression. To him, $500 was probably like 50 cents. What happened today left me drained, physically and mentally. After my shift ended, I sat for a long time before finally dragging myself out. The sun had just dipped below the horizon, the sky melting into a soft, serene blue. Far in the distance, the horizon blurred where the green of the golf course met the pale blue sky, beautiful as a painting. And in that perfect moment, I saw him again, Tyler Kingson. Wait, was I just imagining it? At this hour, shouldn't he be out buying that multi-million-dollar handbag for Chloe Young? Yet there he was, standing in place for a long time, almost as if he were waiting for someone. Once I was sure it was really him, I immediately turned and ran in the opposite direction. I didn't get far before someone grabbed the collar of my shirt. A cold voice came from behind. "Haley Moore, see me and run? Not planning to rob me of my virtue today?" I froze, my heart thudding hard. This was it, Tyler Kingson had come to collect his debt. His grip on the back of my neck felt like he was holding my life in his hands, and I was too scared to move. He let go, circling around to face me. "Haley Moore, what are you so nervous about? What's meant to happen will happen." I hurriedly bowed my head in apology. "Mr. Kingson, I'm sorry. That day I was really just too hungry. I had no money for food, so I did something reckless and tied you up. I never meant to hurt you." "Not hurt me?" His voice was dry, amused in a dangerous way. "Do you always tie people up and then run off?" "What?" I froze in place. Did I really tie him up like he said? He gave a faint smile, and from the look in his eyes, it didn't seem like he was here to settle scores. What shocked me more was that he remembered my name, when I didn't even think he would. "If you didn't, then why did you look at me like you'd seen a ghost?" "Ghost? Seeing you is like running into the Grim Reaper," I blurted before quickly adding, "I really am sorry. I took money from you that day. Once I get paid, I'll pay it back, just give me a few more days." Tyler pulled out his phone and held it in front of me. "Then save my number and send it when you have it." "Yes," I mumbled. The Prince of New York high society really was different. With others, he'd give away gifts worth millions, but with me, he counted every last dollar. Then again, Chloe was his fiancée, and I was just some stranger, one who had once tied him up, no less. Honestly, just making me repay him was already being lenient. After I saved his number, Tyler suddenly asked, "Have you eaten yet?" I'd been so caught up in my thoughts that I'd completely forgotten I hadn't had dinner. Right on cue, my stomach growled. Mortifying. Why did I always end up starving every time I ran into him? I lowered my head, too embarrassed to meet his eyes. He chuckled softly, but there was no real humor in his gaze. "Hungry again?" A shiver ran down my spine. "No," I denied quickly. He glanced impatiently at his watch. "It's late. There's no bus running now, you planning to walk home?" I checked the time. Sure enough, the buses had stopped for the night. Sungold Golf was all the way on the outskirts of the city. If I missed the last bus, my only choices were a long, expensive taxi ride or walking several miles to the nearest transit stop. With no other options, I nodded and agreed to go with him. He led me to the parking lot. To my surprise, Tyler Kingson's car was a Mercedes G-Class. I'd always imagined that princes of his kind drove Rolls-Royce Phantoms, like in the stories. There was no driver, he slid into the driver's seat himself. Seeing me still standing there frozen, he honked the horn. What are you waiting for? Get in. I opened the door. With the vehicle's high clearance, I had to struggle a bit before finally hauling myself up. The moment I settled into the seat, I caught Tyler watching me with a sly smile. Seriously? Was he enjoying my awkwardness that much? I was fuming inside but didn't dare say a word. Outwardly, I kept a docile expression, though in my mind I was roasting him with 100 insults. Haley Moore, are you cursing me in your head right now? Huh? Was I that easy to read? No. Fortunately, he didn't get angry, just said, "You really are clueless." Obviously, it's because your car is too high off the ground. How does that make me clueless? So, short legs, then? How was that not a personal attack? I wanted to cry. But I didn't dare argue, just turned my head toward the window, refusing to look at him. "Wanna grab dinner?" he asked. No need. Just drop me somewhere near a transit stop. Best to avoid causing him any more trouble. After all, he had a fiancée. If Chloe Young found out, who knew what excuse she'd use to humiliate me again? Haley Moore, why do you always say no to everything? His tone carried a hint of annoyance. Though the more he spoke, the softer his voice became. Clearly, you were. What? I asked. I didn't catch that. He suddenly looked almost nervous, scratching the side of his nose and avoiding my eyes. Nothing. If you don't want me settling the score for that little kidnapping stunt, then have dinner with me. I straightened immediately, flashing him my most agreeable smile. Yes, Your Highness. But inside? I was busy mentally cursing his entire family tree. So focused was I on my silent rant that I didn't notice the way his hands tightened on the steering wheel, his knuckles turning white. The flush creeping up his neck reached all the way to his ears, though he kept his gaze fixed straight ahead as if nothing was wrong. Tyler drove me to an upscale restaurant. Since my family's bankruptcy, I hadn't stepped foot in such a luxurious place. One glance at the menu and my jaw nearly dropped. Outrageously expensive. After scanning it over and over, I finally picked the cheapest option, a simple salad. Tyler, sitting across from me, didn't order anything right away. He studied the menu for a long while before telling the server, "We'll take the couple's combo, it's a better deal." I'd always assumed that someone like him never even glanced at the prices when eating out. I didn't expect him to actually calculate for savings and pick the combo just because it was cheaper. This was the same man who had no problem splurging millions on a handbag, yet now he was ordering based on a discount. I honestly couldn't figure him out. Tyler Kingson cleared his throat a couple of times, looking almost embarrassed. Haley Moore, don't get the wrong idea. It just happens to have the dishes I want, and it's heavily discounted. Yes, of course, I said quickly. As if I could misunderstand something like that. The food came quickly. I kept my head down and ate like I hadn't seen a proper meal in years. Tyler seemed to be in a good mood. After we finished, he even drove me all the way home. His G-Class looked absurdly out of place parked in front of my rundown apartment building. While backing out, the narrow road nearly caused his bumper to scrape. "You live here?" he asked. I thought he was about to lose his temper over almost hitting something, so I quickly bowed my head. Sorry. Haley Moore, why are you always apologizing?" he said. "I mean, a girl living in a place like this, it's not safe." "It's fine. The neighborhood's not bad," I replied, and quickly got out of the car to head to my unit. Not even a few minutes later, I got a bank transfer notification, from Tyler's G-Class, no less. The note read, "Get a better place." I stared at the amount, $10,000. What in the world? Was this man a walking ATM? With that much money, I wouldn't even need a part-time job. It would cover my tuition and living expenses for the entire semester. I hesitated for a long time before hitting refund. "Thank you, but I can move back into the dorms next month." "No need. As for that $500, I'll pay you back once I get my paycheck. After losing my parents, I understood one thing clearly: no one is good to you without a reason. And besides, Tyler Kingson had a fiancée. Yet he kept saying ambiguous things and doing ambiguous things. That's exactly the kind of man I should steer clear of. Tyler didn't reply after that. Over the next month, I still occasionally saw him at the golf club. But the manager, worried I'd cause trouble, always assigned someone else to serve him. And me? The moment I spotted him, I'd slip away on my own. Thankfully, Chloe Young didn't show up again either. With someone like her, who lived for stepping on others when they were down, I was surprised she'd pass up another chance to humiliate me. In any case, I had enough for tuition now, plus a decent amount in tips. My living expenses for the semester were now fully covered. With only a few days left before the new term, I officially left that cramped little apartment and moved back into the campus dorms. I transferred back the $500 I had borrowed from Tyler Kingson. He didn't accept it, but he did text me almost instantly, "Back at school now?" Yes. It was a short conversation, and he didn't message again. I stared at the chat window for a long time, feeling a strange, sour ache in my chest. Shaking my head, I forced the thoughts away. Given my current situation, I knew better than to dream about things that didn't belong to me. My life would never intersect with the world of someone like him. The privileged prince of New York high society. But to my surprise, only 2 days later, I crossed paths with Chloe Young. My advisor had paired me with an upperclassman to compete in the National College Student Entrepreneurship Competition. It was a great opportunity, so I signed up without hesitation. I never expected that on the very first day of project setup, I'd run into her. With her family's wealth, I couldn't imagine why she'd lower herself to enter what she'd probably consider a small-time contest. I was about to pretend I hadn't seen her when she strode toward me with a fierce glare. Before I could react, she slapped me hard across the face. She was about to hit me again when my teammate, Kevin Mitchell, stepped in to block her. "What the hell are you doing? Why are you hitting her?" Before he could defend me further, Chloe gave a cold, derisive laugh. "Why? What's wrong with hitting this little homewrecker?" I held my burning cheek. "Chloe Young, what exactly have I done to you? Why do you humiliate me every chance you get? Don't play dumb. You're the reason Tyler canceled my VIP membership at Kingson Golf." I stared at her, completely bewildered. I honestly had no idea what she was talking about. "Still pretending?" she sneered. "Now Tyler's even talking about breaking off our engagement. Isn't that because of a fox like you?" With that, she lunged at me again, but this time, Tyler Kingson himself stepped in and stopped her. When had he arrived? "Chloe Young, what exactly are you trying to pull here?" The moment she saw him, her vicious expression melted into one of trembling tears. Her eyes instantly filled, and she let the tears spill down her cheeks. "Tyler, I knew you still cared about me. Please, can we not break off the engagement? Don't abandon me." Before responding to her, Tyler turned to me. "Haley, are you okay?" I shook my head. "I'm fine." Only then did he look back at my face, his gaze suddenly going cold. "Chloe, did you really hit her?" Her face paled. "Did you forget what I told you last time?" Tyler pressed, his tone hard. Chloe shuddered, her voice breaking. "But Tyler, weren't we supposed to merge our families? In the future we'll be one family, why would you let this fox come between us?" He gave a cold snort. "Merge families? Do you really think the Young family is even worthy of merging with mine?" Tyler Kingson was finally, truly angry, his face dark as ink. "Chloe Young, if you want to keep moving in New York high society, you'd better get out of my sight. Now." Chloe sobbed, begging him not to be so cruel. I watched them, but I had no interest in seeing more. After all, it was just a lover's quarrel. I tugged on Kevin Mitchell's sleeve, pulling him away. He was still fuming on my behalf. Haley, she hit you without even apologizing. How can you just let that go? What else can I do? People like them, we can't afford to provoke. Before he could say more, I cut in, Kevin, could you help me buy an ice pack? Oh, right. He hurried off to get one. I stood there, feeling an ache in my chest, not just from Chloe's slap, but from Tyler Kingson's words. Do you really think the Young family is even worthy of merging with mine? Even the Youngs, a newly risen family in New York's elite circles, weren't good enough to stand beside him. Then what did that make me? I admitted to myself that from the first time I saw Tyler Kingson at that banquet years ago, I had liked him. When I cornered him, yes, it was for money. But deep down, it was also because I knew there would never be a real connection between us, and I wanted to try, just once, to turn an impossible dream into reality. Now, that dream was shattered. Not long after, Kevin returned with the ice pack. He'd even bought a small towel, wrapping the pack neatly before handing it to me. I pushed down the heaviness in my chest and gave him my sweetest smile. Thank you, Senior. To my surprise, Kevin's face flushed bright red. He stammered for a while before managing, "It's nothing." From then on, I threw myself completely into our project. To make the most of both Kevin's and my strengths in design, we decided on a service that would provide comprehensive design and customization tailored to client needs. Not only did we launch an online store, but we also secured seed funding. After several rounds of competition, Chloe Young's project went under and she withdrew from the contest. Ours, on the other hand, surged ahead. Now we were in the top 3. With just 1 month left until the competition ended, we had to give it everything we had to claim first place. Still, no matter how hard we pushed, the gap between us and the top team remained too wide. Just when Kevin Mitchell and I were nearly at a standstill, a large order suddenly came in, a contract to design an entire office building. The day we received the deposit was also the day the competition ended, and we won first place in the National College Student Entrepreneurship Competition. Kevin and I decided to celebrate at a restaurant. By coincidence, I took him to the very same place I'd once gone with Tyler Kingson. I even ordered the exact same couples combo Tyler had chosen before. We celebrated, chatting about the difficulties and challenges we'd faced along the way. Haley, you know, Kevin said, I've never met a woman as strong and talented as you. Would you consider becoming my long-term partner? As he spoke, he pulled out a bouquet from somewhere, then placed a delicate ring on the table in front of me. Even if I were slow, I would have understood his intentions. I was just about to refuse, when I saw Tyler Kingson standing right behind Kevin. When had he arrived? He was looking at me with an expression full of displeasure, his eyes dark with anger. I didn't know why, but being stared at like that made me feel strangely guilty, like he'd caught me doing something I shouldn't. When his gaze fell on the couple's combo, the bouquet, and the ring, there was even a flicker of pain in his eyes. I quickly lowered my head, unable to meet his gaze. When I finally looked up again, Tyler was gone. I turned back to Kevin. I'm sorry, Senior. You're incredibly talented, but I've always seen you as a work partner. I believe our future cooperation will help both our careers grow. Kevin paused, setting down his knife and fork. After a moment of silence, he gave a small smile. Haley, when you invited me out today, ordered the couple's combo. I thought maybe we had a chance. Did I overstep? He packed away the bouquet and ring, lifted his wine glass, and said, then let's toast to our future success. I lifted my glass as well, smiling at him before downing it. Maybe he had work to finish on the project, because Kevin only ate a little before excusing himself to pay the bill and leave. I stayed behind for a bit longer, then got ready to head back. What I'd forgotten was that I really couldn't handle alcohol. After just a small amount of wine, I was already feeling lightheaded. And as I stepped out of the restaurant, I thought I caught a fleeting glimpse of Tyler Kingson. Hadn't he already left? Before I could think more about it, the alcohol hit me hard. My body went slack, I couldn't stay conscious. When I woke up, I found myself in a dark, windowless room with nothing but a bed. I tried to move my hands to ease the pounding in my head from the wine, but discovered my wrists were shackled with iron chains. I quickly sat up, scanning the room, only to realize my ankles were also locked in place. At last, I noticed a shadowed figure in the corner of the room, sitting on a sofa barely visible in the dim light. I couldn't make out his face. Could it be some dangerous, unhinged stranger? My breath caught. I didn't dare inhale too loudly. When the figure saw me awake, he rose and began walking toward me, one deliberate step at a time. My heartbeat pounded, fear surging until it felt like it might burst out of my chest. As his face came into view, I froze. It was Tyler Kingson. He took hold of my chin, staring at me intently. "Haley Moore. I was the one you chose, and yet you got yourself drunk and left me at the restaurant without a thought. You must have chosen wrong." Once I recognized him, the suffocating fear eased slightly. "What are you doing? Why am I chained up?" I asked, meeting his gaze. In the faint light, bound like this, I wondered if this was how he had felt that day I tied him up, uneasy, tense, and with an odd quickening of the heart. "What am I doing?" he echoed. "Do you have any conscience at all? You toy with me, then run away. Was that worth more than $5 million? His eyes sharpened as he stepped closer, his presence pressing in. "That senior of yours, is that really who you've set your sights on?" He switched on the bedside lamp, flooding the room with light. In front of the bed were stacks of cash, box after box. Seeing my surprise, Tyler's lips curved faintly. "Haley Moore, this is $5 million. Tonight, you're not walking away." I didn't resist, partly from shock, partly from the sheer force of his presence. The air between us was charged, his emotions raw, frustration, possession, and something deeper I couldn't name. The rest of that day and night blurred into a haze of heated words, sharp stares, and moments where neither of us seemed willing to back down. By the time it ended, it felt as if the world outside his basement had ceased to exist. When I woke up again, I asked him to get me my phone. Tyler Kingson instantly tensed. "No. You're not planning to call that senior of yours, the one who's practically still a kid, are you?" His eyes were slightly red. "Haley, I regret it. I don't want to be the third party anymore. I want you to belong only to me." Seeing that pitiful look on his face, I couldn't help teasing him. "Weren't you supposed to have an arranged engagement with Chloe Young?" "What? Who told you that?" Tyler's voice sharpened. "I already broke it off," he said firmly. Then he explained, years ago, Chloe had helped his younger sister in a critical moment by donating blood. Because of that, the Kingson family had cooperated more with the Youngs in recent years. But once they'd gained enough from the relationship, the Youngs became greedy and set their sights directly on Tyler. "So you still bought her that bag?" I asked. "It was just a bag," he replied. "Was I supposed to let her lose face in public? After that day, I suspended her VIP card at the golf club and made sure she couldn't appear in front of you again. I didn't expect her to run into you at the entrepreneurship competition and even hit you. That same day, I cut off all business ties with the Youngs, blocked her on both WeChat and by phone. If you don't believe me, check for yourself." He unlocked his phone and held it out to me, but I didn't take it. Instead, I met his eyes directly. "Tyler, yesterday my senior confessed to me." I turned him down. Tyler's eyes lit up instantly, as if something inside him had just been set free. "Really? So I'm not the third party here?" "Of course not. Then who am I? Number 2, or number 1? Tyler, I don't have anyone else. But, the gap between our backgrounds is too big. I think we should." "Haley Moore," he cut me off. "Just tell me what you feel. I'll handle the rest." "Wait, are you saying yes to me? Really? Truly?" In the next moment, he removed the chains and swept me up in his arms, carrying me upstairs. My back still ached from before. The rest of the night blurred into breathless moments and an unspoken answer between us, one that needed no further words.